Yo, what's up, playettes? Hope you liked my little video with Mark. Got a lot of good feedback from that. And that was fun. Thanks for doing that, Mark. Getting all professional and shit. Mics, editing. Damn, what you know about that? There's a meeting tomorrow, and I think everybody should go. Everybody that can make it. It is in Norristown, 10:30, and they just talk a little bit and have some food or whatever. Talk shop, but it's nice to show your presence. Let the leaders in our local know that we're involved, if anything else, and you can pick their brain a little bit. And then actually, we said in the video, so next in April there's going to be people from the pension fund down there, so that's kind of really important. I was talking to some older guys that really don't go at all, but that's one that I was telling them might benefit them a little bit. Some guys that are walking out of here real soon, which is nice because you work with these guys for like 20 years, and then they're like, I'm a year out, or they start counting the days. I got 280 days or whatever, and then all of a sudden it's here, and like reality hits after working at this job for like 30 years. It's a little bit surreal, but that's what the union does for you. That's what the Teamsters do. Get you out of here with it. It's like winning a lottery ticket, man. It's like $1,000 a week for life. More than that for some of them. Some guys have some years in. 35 years. I don't know how they did that in package. It was a little different back in the day. It wasn't any easier, but the stop counts weren't higher. People. So, they progressively bring the stop counts up, which means more in and out of the truck. So yeah, meeting tomorrow. If anybody wants to go, just show up. That's all. It's not like everybody's welcome, And I did there's a bunch of drivers laid off. Some are working part-time in the morning and at night. And a lot of the part-time guys, the tenure there isn't as much as the full-time guys. So guys just come and go, and management's able to abuse the contract quite a bit more than even what they do so with the full-time guys. So I wanted to applaud a driver. I guess I'm not going to say his name, but he called me. He was doing a unload. And there's just, we don't really go back there. It's tucked in the back of the building towards the fence. And there's a belt that goes up, and then there's where they unload the trailers at. And then there's a belt that goes up a small sort. Well, there's a whole team of supervisors working there on a daily basis. And I know Matt Connor was told about that a few weeks ago because I was with him. I walked out real late. Probably I was there till 9:45 at night. I clocked out at 8:45. It was a late one. And then we got talking. I saw Connor, and I was hanging out with him. I filed a grievance because I got back, and a supervisor was unloading my truck. I filed that grievance because they wanted to cut the twilight. Our members that are laid off and want the hours, they want to cut them and do it themselves. And I knew when I got back, I'm looking at the truck, I'm saying, I didn't see anybody. And I'm like, well, who's going to unload this bad boy? Because I'll do it for $60 an hour overtime. Or the guys that are laid off and need hours, they can do it. But no, the company wants to send her a little, they act like they don't know about it, the higher ups, but they know about it. They know what goes on. So I had a grievance for that, a guy unloading my truck, and we filed that. And there was a bunch of members at that time. It was about quitting time or when they were laying them off. They were cutting them. And we're walking out, and they're like, there's teams of supervisors working up here on the unload and other parts of the building, but most particularly the unload. And so a driver called me. He was up there laid off. He wanted hours. They were doing the whole cutting them and then and the whole shift they're working. They're sorting packages. They're progressing packages through the system, which in my eyes, I think I have a little different take on it than even the Matt Connor does. But I feel like any progression of packages through the system is supervisors unloading. I don't think there should be any excuse. I know it's easy to make excuses, but then, in my opinion, they start abusing that. And I think people were really frustrated with supervisors working because nothing's really being done about it. And that's the members' fault as well. We got to get involved, and we got to let them know that this is our work and they can't do it. And by doing that, you got to file a grievance and get your penalty paid because they got to pay. Because they don't pay the penalty pay, it doesn't matter. Like the grievance form is just a piece of paper, but then when they cut that check, so it has to be followed through with. And I think we're kind of hitting a roadblock there a little bit. I have yet to be paid on any grievances since I've been shop steward, and I got elected in December. So, and I filed quite a few, and other members have filed quite a few. So, and they're just blatantly working right in front of us. So, and they just continue to do it. Like you file the grievance, and then maybe the next day they put on an act like they're not doing it, but then they're just right back to it. And I'm not going to give up. I'm just going to continue filing. I'm not going to, and that's hopefully we start getting some penalty pay out of it. And it's not a money grab, unlike some people say. It's not a money grab because the penalty is what stops them from the penalty payments, what stops them from doing it. And then we can take the penalty pay and put it back into this bowling event that we have May 11th, excuse me, which I hope also everybody's welcome to, and do stuff like that. It's not a money grab. Just a lot of excuses going on, and lazy excuses as to why they're doing it. You had to use the bathroom. Well, in my opinion, or the guy got hurt, so the supervisor has to go out and work. Well, they don't. They don't. Or we're trying to get wrapped up. So, we're crunch time service failures. Well, that's your fault. You didn't staff correctly. Like if we just take these lazy excuses and run with them, then nothing's ever going to change. But so that's not really my mindset. So even though I'm getting a lot of pushback from filing this stuff. Not so much like every time, but it's just you hand these grievances out and then they don't go anywhere. Like the one where I got discharged months ago, right? They were blatantly working right in front of me, and I went up there and there was a confrontation, and that should have been handled differently on both sides, and I get that. But I went through all that, had a labor meeting, blah, 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 and that grievance is still out. Like they're literally on video that we're looking in an office where they said I was violent and I wasn't, looking at them working. Like, what do we have to do to get these grievances paid? I don't understand. One thing is we have to do is go to the meetings and put some pressure on our local. So we have a meeting tomorrow, and that's just my opinion, and stop taking lazy excuses. Like, it's just, supervisors, in my opinion, should not work, period. They should not touch a package. I don't care, unless an act of God, because that's what's in the contract. If there's an act of God, they have to notify a supervisor, or a shop steward, excuse me. And then we approve them or not, and then we can figure that out from there. But these lazy excuses is I don't get it. And the part-time guys are the really ones that are affected by it, mostly in our building, because they literally have a team of just kids up there, 19-year-old supervisors with blue shirts on, just working, just doing our work. Guys are laid off; they're up there. And I went up to the driver, and I got through this story. Began off of what I was talking about originally, where a driver that's laid off one of his hours called me and said, "Soups are working." I went back there into that part of the building. I went into the trailer. I talked to him. I made sure not to interfere with the progress of any work that was going on. I got a signature from him, and then I went up to the belt where they're unloading to talk to a supervisor as they're doing working. And he's just like, "Well, they don't do I tell my bosses, but the union doesn't do anything about it." I said, "Well, we do now. We do now. So here's your grievance." I guess it got to his boss. We got him for 6 hours. He worked 2 nights in a row. And there was more than that. Like that, we just got the main guy up there. There was a bunch of underlings that were doing work too. And hopefully that sends a message that, our guys are laid off. They want hours. They want work. And you're going to have to bring them back, and you're not going to be working the soups up there. So here I go rambling again. I'm like, I'm just going to make a little video real quick, and I'm just But yeah, so that, just keep going at that. Even though I don't feel like we're getting very far with it, because you file and they just continue to do it, and then there hasn't really been many penalty payments for that. And that's what needs to happen for UPS to pay attention. I mean, they get riled up and they don't like it, but until they pay, and once they start paying, we'll take that money, we'll buy t-shirts, we'll do stuff like that. But yeah, so I haven't gotten paid for one, up to including the discharge, where the guy was, 3 of them just literally wrapping up and loading boxes from the belt into the truck. And that still hasn't been handled. So, yeah, I'll be at the meeting tomorrow. And also there was another guy that had a brake situation, and they put a brake in, and I was always under the assumption that, it's a half-hour break, it's contractual. I remember they used to let us just put in what we worked, and that's before it was a half hour. That's when it was an hour. Then the union negotiated the supplement in our local 384 to just do a half-hour break if you want. You can do a half hour or an hour. And ever since then, they've kind of been like real hard nosed about you have to put a half hour in no matter what. Well, this driver went out with a supervisor, actually a soup that I had ridden with before, tall, lanky guy. And the supervisor put a half hour break in, and they only took like 15 minutes. And I talked to the driver, and I was under the assumption that, yeah, we have to put our half hour in because it's contractual. And damn, it's windy out. It's Saturday night out here, and it rained like a MFer. So yeah, the half hour was contractual. We have to do it because there's no PA labor law that says you have to put a half break in unless you're under 18, unless you're a minor. I forget the exact law, but basically they're not required to take a break. So that's not that. There is the DOT thing, for 8 hours you have to put a break in. And then the contract states that we put a break in after 8 hours. You got to put a 30-minute break in. Well, this guy called the 800 number, and they resolved it and gave him his money back. So I don't know. It's something to look into because that's more money in the members' pockets. You shouldn't be skipping your break anyway. So it was never really a problem for me because I take my break no matter what. So I'd stop, and at 1 o'clock I usually do 20 minutes. I do 10 minutes or a little earlier, maybe 5 minutes earlier than I do at 1 o'clock. I do about 20 minutes, maybe a half hour, and then I finish up the rest because we're allowed to break them up at the end of the day, And then I use the restroom when I need to on the clock. I use the restroom while I'm on break, but I also, if I need to use the restroom, then I pull over and I use the restroom, or I do it at a stop and I don't clock out for that if there's a public restroom. But yeah, we should look into that a little more because the 800 number, we got some answers out of them real quick, I guess, because he called me and said, yeah, I got paid for that. So I was a little bit surprised by that. Maybe, I don't know, Mark, maybe you can tell me a little more about that. I know it's a DOT law. It's not a PA law, and I know it's contractual because we bargained for that in our supplement. And we should be taking them anyway. Like, I'm not really that excited for guys to be able to skip their break and get paid for it because you should be taking it. But this driver did. So there's another thing that happened. I just want to update everybody a little bit. And thanks for the positive feedback with the Mark video. That was kind of fun to do. Thanks, Mark, for doing that. Appreciate you. And bowling, meeting tomorrow, bowling May 11th, 7 p.m. down at Downingtown Bowling Palace. Old crack hours in charge down there. So you guys have a good rest of your weekend. And hopefully I'll see you tomorrow at the meeting. If not, talk to you around the building. See you.